What's up, everyone? Welcome to Play Hard and Love Big Radio. My name is Nick Clark, and I am your host for today's show. We've got an awesome show for you today. I'm stoked. Play Hard and Love Big Radio is the official podcast of Spotted Dog Yoga and SUP, based out of Folsom, California. Check us out at spotteddogyoga.com. Today's guests are Cassie Regan, who works for a really amazing company that is called Vision to Learn, and Josh Loaiza, who works for a company based out of Dorado Hills called Strands Global Foundation. Great to see you two. What's happening?
It's great to see you as well. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, Nick, thanks so much for having us. I got to say before we get started, I was listening to some of your podcasts, right? Whitewater stand-up paddleboarding. Is that something you guys really do? Because that's insane.
Oh, you know what? I actually think we've got an opportunity for you to sign up and come do it with us, Josh. What do you think, brother?
Well, if we have to do that.
Yeah, I think you should. That was enough with the yoga paddleboarding, but whitewater rafting, I don't know.
It's wild, man. It's really cool that you guys do that type of thing. I mean, I've done some rafting, right? But you're like in a boat, not like exposed and can fall off at any time. It's crazy. I'd love to see something like that.
You know, it's kind of interesting to see how different sports evolve. You know, I mean, it was like first paddleboarding, and then it's like, oh, let's do yoga on a paddleboard, and then, oh, let's do fishing on a paddleboard, and then somebody got the wild hair to go down rivers on a paddleboard, you know. But in real, true response to your question, we support a lot of river stand-up paddleboarders, and we have a brand of board that we have at our studio that's called Holly Gear, and they were originally a river rafting boat manufacturer, and then they turned into a stand-up paddleboard company, and they really push the river stand-up paddleboarding. I personally have only done it one day from this guy. He trained me out of Coloma, and his name is Davide Sartoni. He's really well known, but he trained me one day. And I just think with 3 kids, 3 boys, young, I'm not really willing to risk my life to get out on the river right quite yet, you know, honestly. But yeah, so I don't do a whole lot of it, but we like to support a lot of people in their river supping, which has turned into a really big industry, you know. So
yeah, that's impressive. Literally a boat's weight comes by on my paddleboard, and I'm freaking out. So I can't imagine.
Well, it inspired us too. I think like after listening to that, I came home to Castle. I was like, I'm ready to paddleboard right now.
I know.
Let's go do it. Like
winter in Oregon, but yes.
Yeah, you might have to wait just a little bit. Well, I did get some of the pictures this morning that you sent Cassie and Josh on your board. You two do some paddleboarding up in that area, it sounds like.
Yes, yeah.
Well, it's one of the beautiful things about this area in North Oregon, Southeast Washington, or Southwest Washington is that there's so many bodies of water. I mean, there's rivers, there's lakes. They're all just gorgeous, surrounded by beautiful trees. And Mount Hood has so many just running off of that are incredible. And I've told Cass a bunch of times too, I have a dream to paddleboard in the ocean, right? To take our boards out there, but might need to get a little more sturdy board there. But, I didn't know it was going to be possible. But then hearing some of the stories from people who have been on your podcast, like, I think it's something we can make happen. Yeah. Maybe a more calm day, you know, not the big swells, but
yeah, it's certainly possible. I mean, and you're right. Like different boards are designed for different atmospheres, you know, so atmospheres, is that right? Yeah. Maybe not for atmosphere, for different environments, you know, but there's like ocean boards and there's river boards and there's yoga boards and like there's boards for going fast and there's boards for going slow and just chilling and having a cooler and your dog. I mean, there's boards for fishing, there's boards for anything, you know what I mean? It's crazy. But I think that whatever paddleboard you have probably could handle any of it. You know what I mean? And that's one thing just to remember. But I think, this is such a great start to this show because it's Play Hard and Love Big Radio, which is the motto of our studio, but also the energy that we want to bring out into the world. We want to show people and tell stories of people who are out living big and loving big. And so let's start with you, Cassie. What is it that you would say that you do to play hard in your life? Or I guess, based off of the form you gave me, what is it that you don't do? But
what do we don't do to play hard?
Yeah, what do you do to play hard, and why do you think that that's valuable for your life and relationships and in business and everything and the way that you approach things?
I think the way you relate to everyone in your life comes down to your personal experiences. And the more you can experience, the more you can relate to different people in different places and with their different experiences. If you can have a shared experience or open someone's eyes to something maybe they haven't experienced before and vice versa, it just brings connectivity. And I know for us, which I really just appreciate about our lives, is that we're always open to something new, something different. We've something incredible about the Pacific Northwest is they have the most random things that I would have never thought to go to. We have been to Viking fests and adult go-kart derbies and just anything under the sun, you name it, or couldn't even think of it, and they probably have of it here. And we have just I've experienced so much since being up here, and I've lived across the country in like 7 different states, and I can say I haven't experienced as much as I have here. So, and just even those things, they're conversation starters. They're ways to connect with people. I know you and I talked because my friend Vilda and I went to we went together, a monster truck derby in Utah. And it was the most random thing. We met these monster truck people out and they were like, do you want to come tomorrow? And we were like, sure, why not? And then it ended up being an incredible connection for your kids because and being able to go, which I would have never thought to go to a monster truck derby, but it was so much fun. So
No, it is such a great way to connect with people. When you said that, you're like, I know the monster truck man. I'm like, oh, like, look right here. I swear, monster truck. Yeah. My son was in here playing with monster trucks earlier. Like, these kids love monster truck. Dalmatian. What's this one? Monster Mutt Dalmatian. This guy. Crate Danger. This one is one he really likes, though. Maybe you saw it at your show. Megalodon.
Yeah.
And then the other thing they started doing, I know I'm just kind of on a weird tangent, but they started painting them. So this summer we got like these acrylic paints and we painted them, and then we'd wash them off, and it was like hours of time killing. It was amazing, but yeah, like you never know how something little like that or big like that could make it like a connection and a huge difference. And we went down to San Diego and we were like climbing on the trucks and stuff. And only because we had that conversation, it was really cool. Yeah, it's awesome. So tell me about Viking Fest really quick. Did you both go to Viking Fest, Josh and Cassie?
Yeah.
What was that like, Josh? What was the Viking Fest like for you?
Well, I mean, it was unique. I think that's one of the cool things. They had full-scale reenactments where, I mean, they were not holding back either. They had axes and yes, blunt swords, but they're still going after each other. And it's just fascinating to kind of think about, like, being in the moment of think about those times and back in history in general. To me, it's always been a fascinating thing to think about how they live. Right? They're people just like us that were living back then and experiencing different things and what the world was all they knew at that time. So it's really interesting to have seen that. They had a blacksmith demo and showing like how they made some of the swords and the blades and all those different things. And then by the end of the night, it turned into a full-on rager. Like, it turned out to be a party, and
they were selling mead.
They were selling mead all night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Had a lot of ale. But it was a good time. It was a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah.
Well, obviously for you two to be connected and in such a great relationship, it seems like you're in a great relationship. You must both value playing hard and getting out there and doing these really unique events and just creating conversation starters and having experiences. Josh, what would you say that you love the most about Cassie's desire and willingness to go out and play hard in the world?
It's probably the thing I appreciate about her the most is that whatever she's doing, she can find joy in and enjoy. And that's a key thing with exploring and experiencing. Like, things are sometimes going to be great and sometimes they're not, or it may be a completely new experience that you're uncomfortable, unfamiliar in. The thing that Cass is incredible is that she shows up in those moments and has a phenomenal time no matter what's happening. She's able to appreciate the different aspects of whatever life has to offer. So whether it's a Viking fest, we went to a garlic fest, right? Where just randomest thing in the world. But we just had a blast. We were like, oh, let's try the different flavors of garlic and try these different things. And it makes the experience just that much better when you have someone that you can share it with that also appreciate, that is going to show up and just appreciate whatever it is. You don't have to be worried, oh, are they going to have a good time? Or is it going to be fun? Like, they're going to have a good time because they know how to appreciate life. And so that's one of the things I admire the most about Cass. in our adventures and the way that she plays hard.
Yeah, and I would say too, if you're going to go to a garlic fest, you want to go with the one you love, because the next morning you can't smell each other, right? Or maybe you both smell the same or something,
It's pretty incredible. The garlic fest, I didn't know how many different types of garlic there were, and how they gave us little slivers of them, and some like are potent and spicy right when you put it in your mouth, and then others like it creeps up on you, and then they have like black garlic, and then all these different things. We ended up getting like I think we had garlic for like 2 weeks straight. Like every meal was just infused with garlic.
Sweating garlic.
Yeah, because it was so good. And so we looked up all these recipes to make with them, and made like garlic bread and garlic focaccia and garlic all the meals just we could with. It was incredible.
I mean, that's so neat. And I feel like there's a place in California, I can't pinpoint it right now, but that's really known for garlic. Do you know what it is? Gilroy, that's right. You drive by and there's like the signs for like the Great Garlic Festival and stuff. We should do that sometime. That would be cool.
Should.
We just got to plan out like 2 weeks after that so that we can make all the garlic stuff like you guys did, because we'll be so hyped up on the garlic thing. Cassie, same question for you. What is it that you appreciate about Josh's ability to go out and play hard like he does?
I not to be redundant, but that is probably one of my favorite things about him. Ever since we've met, we've been on these just incredible adventures, and he's always up for doing whatever it is. Because a lot of people would be hesitant. They would be like, well, we're not going to, do that. Like, I randomly had something in Reno, and I was like, would you want to meet me there? And just random. But it ended up being, we did a bags tournament. It was a hot wing festival. Like, it just happened to be on this random thing. And it was just to be able to go to live life with a partner that is just always up for adventure, and again, just seeing the joy and making the best out of any situation just makes life worthwhile. And just like he said, that they're always up for it. I crave new experiences and adventures, and having to be able to do that with someone that is going to enjoy it just as much as you are, and sees the joy in it and sees the fun, and is up for learning new experiences, because it's hard sometimes. We as humans get really bogged down in obligations and routine, which is always good, but it's really fun to just branch out and learn new experiences, because you can't grow without going out and experiencing new things. So I love that so much about him, because I have done more in the past 3 years than I think I've done in all the states that I lived in, just because he is so up for it. So when you have a partner like that to be able to explore life with, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference, And I mean, we were laughing earlier because your dog River came into the room, and I said, he looks like this big stuffed animal that my kids have in their bed, but we were laughing about it. But I also and I think you two know this, seeing as if that you've been involved with Spotted Dog Yoga in a really amazing way over the last 10 years. But play hard and love big, the motto came from our dog, and that's why we named our studio Spotted Dog Yoga. No, we don't teach dogs yoga. A lot of people think that's like random, like, no, we don't, but they teach us yoga, really. And that's what we learned from Bandit. And he, when we got him, we rescued him. He was, had really been, they didn't take very good care of him. He's a cattle dog. He was pent up in an apartment and like beat up, and he was chasing bicycle riders, because that's what he knows to do. He knows how to herd. He's a herding dog. And so when we got him, what I realized is that, oh my gosh, I have to work this dog out every day hard, multiple times, in order for him to love big. Like, he's got to play hard. He's got to go work hard in order for me to like sit back and for him to lay on me and lick my face, or in order for him to like just kick it and roll over and have a scratch his belly. Like, he needs to get that steam out. He needs to get out there and play hard. And at that point, like, we really started having this really amazing relationship with our dog, which in turn brought Katie and I together, and then we got married and built a studio and had kids and yada, yada. The rest is history, but it really came from an understanding of the importance of getting out there and living life. And I get that from the two of you. You really are living life, and you're doing it together, and it's connecting you, and it's bringing love into the space. And it's really neat to hear and see that. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thanks.
Absolutely, that's a beautiful story, man. And it really is like you saw our camera shaking. That was our dog just
he
trying
just
to
ran
get
under the
action.
table.
Loving big, man. Yeah.
But it's funny. It's a great analogy for the way that to really work with dogs a lot, because it is for him same thing, right? He's a really smart dog. He's a Bernedoodle, so half poodle, half Bernese Mountain Dog, and he's just very intelligent, and so he just needs his mind stimulated constantly. So it's got to be activity. Sometimes it's like puzzle games and things like that. But if he's just the sweetest dog in the whole entire world and just loves to snuggle and cuddle. And you're right, like that's a fantastic analogy for life, right? Like I think in so many ways we have to also have that aspect of us filled. Like, it's like, why is playing hard so important? It's so much about having that aspect or having our cup filled in that way where we're challenged, we're stimulated, and we're, have that fun meter filled so that we can show up in love in a huge way. And we can show up for, our partners or the people in our lives and even just ourselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally, man. And I love how you say when we got to have our love meter filled, man. God, that's how we fill our love meter, and also really for me too, Josh and Cassie, filling my love meter also for me comes from and playing hard comes from working hard and passionately about making a difference and serving. And I think it's a pretty good segue. I want to talk about the work that the two of you are doing and have done, because you're doing really impactful work. The two of you both met working with Three Strands Global Foundation. Is that correct?
Yep.
That's right. And so Cassie, were you working with Three Strands Global Foundation first, or Josh, who was working with them first?
Yeah, well, I started in 2019, so almost 6 years ago.
Okay.
I started with Three Strands in a capacity in Salt Lake City, actually, and it was mainly to bring some of the prevention education from Sacramento, where it was founded, to Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay, and will you tell us a little bit more about the organization? It was founded in El Dorado Hills, and maybe tell us a little bit about the founder of it and what the purpose is and what it is that you do for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it was founded in El Dorado Hills in response to a trafficking incident that happened to a close friend of our founder and CEO, Ashley Bryant. And after that experience and seeing that happen, she realized somebody's got to do something about this. Somebody's got to fight back. And so she started Three Strands Global Foundation in a response to that, to ultimately do whatever we could to prevent that situation from happening to anybody else. Uh, the organization has, three main components. There's an education component of it, which is educating everybody on how to recognize trafficking and ultimately preventing it from that angle. And then there's a survivor services component, which is helping those who have experienced trafficking find sustainable employment. And there's a policy advocacy aspect of the organization as well. Cass and I focused on the education part. So when I started, we were bringing what is our Protect program, which is a school-based prevention education program, training school staff on how to recognize signs of trafficking or abuse in their students, and then educating the kids on, what tactics of traffickers might be, protective factors, ways to keep them safe to the tactics traffickers are using. So I started there. First thing I was doing was like training adults in the classroom, kind of teaching them on what to look for and to educate that way. And then that's really, how my journey started with it. And as we started to expand, we had new roles that opened up, which really aligned with what Cass did.
Yeah.
Hey folks, if you're not feeling right, or if you're in a lot of pain, Back to Health Chiropractic is the place to go. You might not realize it, but neck and back pain are often the last symptoms to show up, and they can fade before the real problems are solved. That's why at Back to Health Chiropractic, they start with a high-tech new patient exam to get to the root of the issue. Then they create a personalized care plan that's safe, effective, and more than just a quick fix. If you're ready to feel better and move better, go see Dr. Ron Sims and his associates at Back to Health Chiropractic. Check them out at backtohealthsac.com and make sure you let them know that you heard about them from Play Hard and Love Big Radio.
I was a former teacher, and so coming into, and then I switched into, I always worked in Title I schools and saw I saw so many of my students struggling with things outside of the classroom and wanting to feel like I could do more. And so I went and got my master's in nonprofit management and started working for Big Brothers Big Sisters and connecting mentors with kids. And then when I came back, that was in Boston. When I came to California, I came across Three Strands Global, and they said, we're looking for someone with an education background and also nonprofit. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a perfect fit. And so I came on to Three Strands Global Foundation and started working with their prevention education program, developing their curriculum in order to, put my teacher touch on it so that it's it's really applicable to teachers, and also from that view of the kids and how they can really understand it, because that's the most important thing, how they can protect themselves from being a victim of human trafficking. And so it was an incredible experience and journey, and I'm just so grateful for that time. It opened up my eyes, because I was one of those people, of many people, that thought trafficking was the movie Taken, where it happens far away. It's, it doesn't happen in here or in affluent communities, but it really does. And it was shocking to me. And so it really opened my eyes that what in terribly expansive business it is, because it is a business, unfortunately, and how vast it is in the U.S. and in our towns. Like you said, it happened in Dorado Hills. That's right, where this all started, which you would never think it would happen there, but it does.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring that up, because there's a there's a restaurant here in Eagle, where we live in Idaho, that we go to all the time. We love it. It's a sweet little breakfast place. And just 2 weeks ago, I saw that they had a sex trafficking sting across the street in a massage parlor in Eagle. I was blown away.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that a part of your education is also for the public, and helping the public understand like what to look for, and but also that it is legitimately like could be right next door to them. Can you tell us a little bit more about like what kind of things to look for, or as a community, somebody in the community, what we can do to help prevent against this, or to work towards the same goal and objective of helping people?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's my role now. So I shifted from a lot of doing the prevention school-based stuff to more of a community, corporate training, corporate relations position in with Three Strands, and that's why I moved up to this area as well, to expand what we do and take it to a national scale. Some of the things you could recognize, I mean, you're looking for anything that feels out of the ordinary, something that makes you feel off. Like, we teach this in our curriculum, and it's probably the core of what our Protect curriculum is all about, is that we all have some innate, gut instinct inside us that helps us identify when something is feeling off, and to listen to that voice, because that's usually telling us, hey, something's weird about that. So you could look at a situation, maybe it's a noticeably controlling older boyfriend or girlfriend, and they're, answering all the questions for this other individual. Maybe they're, frequently closely monitoring them, and any type of signs of abuse where you may see like bruising or scars or something like that could be red flags. Sometimes a kid having two phones can be a red flag as well, because one is for the trafficker and then one's just their regular cell phone, and so on and so forth. For labor trafficking, you're looking at, because human trafficking, a lot of people think just sex trafficking, but it is an umbrella term. It does cover both. And labor trafficking is also prevalent in the United States as well. And what you're looking for there is, what are the working conditions like? Does this individual have an opportunity to leave that situation that they're in? And if they did, what would the repercussions be? Do they work where they live? And sometimes it's really terrible conditions. I've heard stories from law enforcement about they had like 6 people to a room, much like this, and the beds were kind of lined up, and they just had dividers, and that's where the people were living. So there's situations like that that would cue you in to say, hey, something's feeling off about this, let's look deeper into it. Because oftentimes, there's something deeper in the situation. For example, the massage parlor sting that you mentioned, like oftentimes people will think, oh, well, this, seems somewhat consensual, but not understanding that there's so much goes on behind the scenes. There's a coercion factor, like, is this individual being threatened or forced into doing this through either a threat of violence, or maybe their immigration papers have been confiscated and they don't really have any other choice, or maybe they're threatening their family. Right? There's a number of different ways that traffickers can coerce people to do what they want so that they can ultimately make money. But the end all be all sort of idea behind it is, can we recognize when something's feeling off? Because that's gonna cue us in that there's something going on there that we need to either get involved with, tell somebody or report. Kind of your, and that's a long-winded answer, I'm sorry, but to your second sort of part of your question, as far as like what people can do, education is like the first and foremost thing. We do have community education. We have education for companies and corporations. Our website, which is 3sgf.org, you can find all the information about like what are different training programs. If you're in the Sacramento area, you can volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers to help get involved, and then have conversations with your kids, because that's like traffickers are targeting kids because they're more vulnerable. They're just by nature of being young are more susceptible, and so traffickers are really queuing in on that. Right? They're trying to find some sort of vulnerability that they can take advantage of, and so if that's the two things you could take from that is that, one, educate yourself, and two, have conversations with your kids about online safety and keeping them safe, so that ultimately you're broaching this so you don't look back and regret and say, man, I wish I would have said something. You're out in front of it.
Yeah, well, thank you, man, and I appreciate the long-winded answer. I was really what I was going for. I would like in depth. That's really amazing what it is that you all are up to. And again, it's 3sgf.org. And
right, then the number 3.
That's right. That's good. The number 3sgf.org. And you can just even go to Google and, of course, type in 3 Strands Global Foundation, and you'll find it there too. Cassie, from your experience in working with them and like bringing in your teacher-esque personality and whatnot, can you think of a specific situation or interaction that you had that made a huge difference for you working with that organization?
Yeah, I feel like when, just like I said, when coming into working with 3 Strands Global Foundation, I didn't realize the prevalence of trafficking, and it made me actually reflect on all my years of teaching and how many kids were probably vulnerable to it, or if not actually experiencing trafficking, and I had no idea. In developing the curriculum and seeing the tactics that traffickers use, I realized how incredibly vulnerable the kids were. And I'm gonna switch and show a positive note that happened. I was actually in Utah, and we were watching their representatives there do a presentation and a training with the kids, and they were talking about trusted adults. And one thing that they do teach at 3 Strands, which I love, is not that an adult is inherently trustworthy because they're an adult, or because they're an authority figure, or because they're your parent. Like, there is factors that make an adult a trustworthy adult. And they were talking about those and how important it is for a child to have that in their life. And that came from Big Brothers Big Sisters, knowing the importance of a mentor and all that. It came full circle. And there was this child right in the front row, and she was so nervous, and she said she didn't have anyone. And then the principal and the teacher were just like, okay, yeah, we'll talk about this. And then they went through what makes a trustworthy adult. And then all of a sudden she raises her hand and she goes, oh no, I have them. And she was like, and she got so excited, and they were like, okay. And she's like, what if I want to say something that I maybe shouldn't? And then they were like, we can totally talk. And that little bit of intervention, you never know what that light bulb going off in that kid's head of, hey, I have a trusted adult in my life. Something didn't feel right. And they're able to go to them. That actually just happened to my niece there in Florida. And I talked to my brother about informing my nieces. He has 3 girls, and they're constantly on their phones and constantly doing and talking to them about safety. And he had really open conversations with my niece about, if a friend of yours is in trouble, if you're in trouble, you can always come to me. And just last week, she came to him and said, my friend told me that something bad was happening at home. She told me not to tell anybody, but you said to always come to you. And he was able to call the school, get the counselor involved, get DCS involved, and help that child out. And he was just so incredibly proud of my niece for being able to say something, even though her friend told her not to, just because he had taught her what the importance of that and how you could save a life by just saying something. And so it's come full circle. And I'm so incredibly proud of the work they do, because it runs rampant in everywhere we are, and we need to keep the kids safe. So
yeah, I love that you share that and the positive aspect of that. I mean, what I'm getting from that is just having a conversation with your kids about how they hear something that they can come to you. Like, no, like getting them to start listening for things that are not right in other people's situations in life, because they hear different things, like we have Owen is 7 years old, Sawyer is 5 years old, and Stetson is 4 months old. Stetson doesn't comprehend much. He likes to smile a lot, But my other two boys, like, we're constantly like, hey, you can't be out in the front yard without us being out there with you. Why? Well, because there are people in the world that just want to take you. They have bad intentions. Like if there's a car that comes up and pulls up and talks to you, like you don't just walk right up to it, like trust your intuition, but like don't be too friendly. They're friendly like me, so I don't know, like those are kind of the conversations that I have. Is there anything else, like for the parents that are listening to this show, that you could recommend, Josh or Cassie, about like what they could speak to their kids about that would help educate them?
Well, I'll say for a big thing is online safety, right? Like I think trafficking so much now has kind of moved online to where individuals will be trying to contact, their target essentially online. So it'll be through whatever app kids are using, the game. I saw Roblox was like a huge one that they were using. The predators were on that one, but they can, any of the apps there through the chat features is kind of where they're at. So the idea is, can you keep them safe? Can we set boundaries online? Can you communicate? Like, who do you talk to? Who do you like? What is if you don't know the person, what kind of information do you share to keep that information so that they're not gaining too much so they can find you or find out about you, and use that to somehow leverage you or coerce you into doing something. But what Kessie's brother shared, and that I think from all the parents that I've talked to and the situations, like that seems to be the reoccurring most effective way, is to let them know that you're there for them no matter what, right? I think showing up as a positive, trusted adult experience in your life, in their life, letting them know you're there for them no matter what, and that they can come talk to you, and that they won't get in trouble, and it'll be okay, even if it's something that they probably shouldn't have done, or maybe they weren't supposed to do. That has, in so many instances, saved people's lives and changed. I mean, I know many stories where someone might have was basically being coerced or threatened or manipulated into basically engaging in a trafficking situation. And because they went to their parents and said, hey, I'm so sorry I screwed up, but don't be mad at me. Can you just, letting them know and having that conversation beforehand that you're there for them no matter what, that made the difference. And so if there's anything, that would be the one thing I'd say as far as universal. But you can find more. We have a parent portal as well that I'd be happy to, you can find it on our website. Folks are happy to reach out to me. I'm happy to give them a coupon code. It's like $10 a month, but we can give you a free month first just to jump on and get some of this information. There's conversation starters. There's ways they can talk to it. But at the end of the day, having that conversation is too important. And much like you were doing, Nick, like with your kids, even just planting the seed and kind of setting that of like, okay, you need to be a little more cognizant of who you're talking to, who you share information with. That can go a long ways.
You never want to like harsh on a child's innocence and their positive outlook on the world. I mean, we've seen time and time again when research has proved it, scare tactics don't work. Really, what it is just being honest with them and saying there are these things out there, and just, I think the biggest thing too when it comes to children is letting them know that their inner voice, their gut if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Because a lot of these times, these traffickers will, prey on their vulnerabilities. They're like, oh, I'm in a fight with my parents. And they'll be like, I can offer you this. Or I don't have the money for this PlayStation game or whatever. I can get you this. And just know that if someone is offering you something at no cost, it's probably too good to be true. And some people, and you don't want to take away their innocence and their outlook on seeing the good in people, but also just being aware that not everyone is going to be just, kind and looking out for your best interests. So know who you can trust, and always, like you said, just always have a trusted adult that you can come to with no judgment, and know that you're loved unconditionally. And yeah.
You two are amazing. I love what you shared. Thank you. Like, big time. I think this is adding so much value to the listeners, and listeners, those of you that are out there listening to this show, comment, share, and let Josh and Cassie know how much this is making a difference. And also don't forget to check out 3 Strands Global. And I get like, it's the number 3 sgf.org. That's challenging for a guy like me. I'm like, I want to spell that, but it's the number 3 sgf.org. And before we slide over to talking about Vision to Learn, Cassie, because I know that's something you're really passionate about and working with right now, I want to tell just like a quick story that reminded me of. When I was pre-COVID time, we had a contract with the Folsom Cordova Unified School District, and I would go to different schools, and I'd have the gym all day long, and every block different amounts of students would come in, and I'd have like up to 200 students per block that I was teaching yoga to. Well, when you get a group of like together, depending on the school and the area that you're in, some people are listening, some people aren't. Well, when I was down in Rancho Cordova, I was teaching at the Mills Middle School down there, and it was very challenging to get that group of people to listen. So what I'd do is I'd like clap once, and they'd clap once, and I'd clap twice, they'd clap twice, and I'd get them kind of in a rhythm. And I finally got the group in a rhythm, but there was this group of like 5 or 6 people in the back, these guys, and they were all these boys. They were all just, around each other talking, snickering. They weren't really doing any of it. They weren't a part of it at all. And I just let go of it. I was aware of it, and I'd been trained in this as a teacher and facilitator, just to kind of let it go, because you just never know how it's going to impact someone. You never know if someone's listening, even though they're not paying attention. Well, sure as heck, afterwards, the whole auditorium cleared out. There's this young boy who's kind of like, who was a part of that group. His buddies left. He was kind of just hanging out, and he slowly made his way up to me. And once the whole place was cleared out and I was rolling up mats, he started rolling up mats with me, and he said, hey, I got some stuff going on at home. And do you think that some of this like breathing and movement and stuff could like help me out? And I'm like, well, yeah, of course it could. Like, what? And like, what's going on at home? He's like, I really just don't want to talk about it, And I was like, okay, like, no problem. It's fine. Like, here's our website. Here's my email. Like, get a hold of us if you want to come do some yoga. Here's our YouTube. Do some yoga if you want. Like, it'd be good for you, And then he like cleared out and whatnot. And then I told the principal. I had a conversation with the principal and let him know that was going on. I didn't know who the boy was, but that was happening, and they told me that they were aware of it and that they would, do their best to kind of help a little bit more with him. But the point of me telling that story is that you just never know who's listening. As a leader, right? As a human being, as a leader, as a trustworthy human being, you just never know who's listening, or who feels like that they could share something with you. And I think it is so important to like continue to pass that information forward to help people, and I think your stories there and your tips and tricks are just a reminder to be like that. There's a lot of people on this that listen to this show that are a part of the global Baptiste community, that are leaders that get out and do things with a lot of people. And I think having their awareness heightened around what it is that you're talking about is super important. So thank you. And before we close off about 3 Strands Global and move to Vision to Learn, is there anything you want to say about them? Like why you love their organization, why people should be involved, anything extra on top of that? Josh or Cassie?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you because I appreciate that story as well, because it is so much. You just never know. You never know the difference that what you're saying or one conversation can make, and that's really the crux of what 3 Strands is about, right? Like you never know that opportunity that you could have. And so being prepared or being educated or just listening to that inner voice to, you never know the difference that's going to make. But I will say, Three Strands, it's been a complete honor. Like I said, it's been about 6 years, and it's been a complete honor to work with this organization. It is, survivor driven. We oftentimes are consulting directly with those who have experienced trafficking to guide the work forward. Ashley Bryant's an incredible leader and has done a fantastic job in navigating this organization through so many different things. I mean, COVID to federal grant pause to so many different things, different administrations. I mean, so many things that ultimately, impact federal grant funding, and somehow we've navigated it in incredible ways. So if you are in the Sacramento area or just in general want to learn more about Three Strands, we do have a drop-in center on H Street in downtown Sacramento. So for those folks, you can learn more about our facilities and where you can get services and additional information there. I will say too, the National Human Trafficking Hotline, if you see anything that's suspicious, always contact that. It's 888-3737-888. So have that. You can add that to your contacts or just kind of keep it in your back pocket just in case, because you really never know when you could need it and come across something. So
yeah, that's huge. Thank you.
And I'll just add, even though I'm no longer working for them in a professional capacity, I will always carry their mission with me. And I've actually reached out to them, like, if you ever need me for anything, and volunteering at any events that they have or anything, and just keeping it in mind in any conversation that I have. I still work in the education community, and so I'm always aware of that. And even I've even in my current position have talked with teachers and counselors, and I'm like, you need this education at this school. Like, we need to bring the Protect curriculum to these schools, because it's prevalent everywhere, and it's just so important to educate yourself. Like he said, that's the number one, and be able to know if something feels off, report it. When in doubt, report it, because there's nothing worse than not and wishing you did, because even if you did and it doesn't turn out okay, but best case scenario, you did and you saved someone's life.
Did you know that California's electrical grid was designed for a population size from over 100 years ago? Today, there's too much congestion during the day from solar users generating power, and too much congestion in the evening when the sun goes down and households need electricity. A new program was created to address this issue by providing more homes with solar panels and batteries to help stabilize the grid. The program is fully funded, meaning homeowners can get solar and battery systems at no out-of-pocket costs. This setup leads to lower bills and a consistent capped rate for your power year-round. Find out if your home qualifies by contacting the Eldorado Solar Dude at eldoradosolardude.com. Pat or one of his team members will help you explore the different options for your house. And don't forget to let them know that you heard about them from Play Hard and Love Big Radio. Yeah, that's amazing. Well, and it's so neat that you carry, like, every experience we have, like a job or an interaction or an experience, right, we take with us and it carries forward with us. And it's neat that you have that education that you can take forward into what you're doing right now, which is what I want to talk about. I've been teasing about it, people. Vision to Learn. Cassie, how'd you find this organization? Tell us about what they do and tell us about why you love it.
Yeah, so moving up to the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, I was looking to get more involved locally, and I came across this organization that brings vision care to kids in low income or in areas that they might not have the resources in order to get vision care. And I know for myself, I wear glasses and contacts, and they are expensive. And to get to a doctor's office, to go through all the paperwork, to insurance, all that, a lot of parents are not able to do so. They may be working 2 jobs, and the only time the hours of the eye doctor is open is during the week, and they can't get it, or they're worried about their status and can't get insurance, or it's too expensive. And so a lot of kids are going without vision care. I had always assumed, kind of similar to at Three Strands, where I had no idea the prevalence of the problem. I had assumed kids' eyes were healthy and you don't need glasses till you're older. Yeah, there's a random 1 or 2 kids that may need glasses younger, but it's actually vastly different. Since working at Vision to Learn, I've found that we do a initial screening. We have a really cool, it's called a spot camera that can screen the kid's eyes in 2 seconds and tell us if they need an exam. And it comes pretty close on the prescription. And out of the kids that we see, at least 25% of them need an exam, which I was blown away. Like, these are kindergarteners that need eye exams. And what's also sad is that I've seen high school kids that have never gotten eye exams, and they have been going through life blind. Basically, they everything's a blur. And so many times, and as a teacher, I noticed this too. So many times, kids' behavior will be off because they're not being able to read the test. They're not being able to see the board. And so they act out because they're getting low grades. They have self-esteem issues because they're not doing well. And so their behavior changes. Mm-hmm. And they've done 2 studies at Vision to Learn, UCLA and Johns Hopkins, where they did a study that kids that got glasses actually made the equivalent progression academically that 3 months with a one-on-one tutor would have had, which is incredible. It can change lives. And so many of these kids don't realize that they can't see until they get glasses. So what Vision to Learn does is they do initial screenings, and then we have a mobile unit. So if you've ever seen those Amazon Sprinter vans, it's a Mercedes Sprinter van, but it's fully equipped with everything you need for a comprehensive eye exam inside. And it has a doctor and an optician. And they partner with Classic and Warby to bring a bunch of different frames. So the kids get to pick out their own frame, which again, they don't typically get to have that choice. And then they do the whole eye exam, send out the prescriptions, bring back the glasses, and bring them to the school. So it takes all those barriers away from parents and kids. So it happens right at the school during school hours. The glasses get brought back. And then one thing amazing about Vision to Learn as well is that they replace any lost or broken glasses at no cost. So, because we know kids tend to do that all the time.
As I'm sure you're aware.
Yeah.
And adults.
Yeah, exactly.
I break them all the time.
So it's a pretty amazing organization, and it's nationwide, but they actually just came to Oregon last October. And so I was able to be on the ground floor of bringing it to Oregon. And we're already in, I think, 7 different districts and have served like 3,000 plus kids, giving them glasses. So it's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. And how do they decide where to expand to and what schools to serve?
Yeah, so they don't have one thing that's amazing about Vision to Learn. There is no criteria, basically. You cannot be turned away. Their goal is any kid that needs glasses gets them, no matter what circumstances are. We do try to go to areas that may have lower resources. So Title I schools, those that have a high percentage of free and reduced lunch, that kind of thing, to make sure that we're serving those communities that may not have the resources outside it. We also we do Boys and Girls Clubs, the migrant education community, the Asian community, all different other organizations or nonprofits that serve underserved communities.
That's amazing. And then how can people get involved in Vision to Learn if they wanted to be more involved in what it is that you're doing?
Yeah, go to our website, visiontolearn.org. And again, we're nationwide, so whatever's in your local area, they are all over California. For California listeners, they started in LA. Their first ones were actually in like the Napa Valley area, but our headquarters are in LA, but they're up and down the California state and all over the nation. And so, yeah, if your school or community, because we do community health fairs and all that stuff too as well, is looking for it, just go to our website.
Man, that's awesome. I'm so inspired by you two and your commitment to service and just being like getting involved with organizations and staying involved with organizations that are making such a big difference. It's really neat, and this inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing. So thank you. And thank you for sharing. One thing that is a unique fact about Cassie is that she took our teacher training program. That's unique. I didn't mention that earlier, but, how was that experience for you?
That was incredible. One thing that I do love about Baptiste yoga that I know is different than other yoga that I have practiced is that that deeper look, that introspective, the focus on meditation, the mind, the whole. It's more about the whole person and less about just memorizing the poses and learning how to do it. You really do connect. It was an incredible experience, and just gave me confidence and self-awareness. I think I started one of these things. I always tell myself, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it's like, no, follow through and do this. And I think committing to doing that was life-changing because it just kind of was a catalyst in that if you put your mind to something, you can do it. And just everything that I got out of it. He was actually with me on the day that we graduated, and I think I sent in the video of teaching him how to. He was my first student.
Oh, that's where I've seen you before. Yeah, okay.
So we did a power flow. It was awesome. But being at that accomplishment of coming out and just being like, yes, I did this. Has been amazing. And it's actually brought me closer into the community out here as well, because I've been going to different studios and seeing where I could potentially teach, and realizing that they may not have this type of yoga and they have this, and it's connected me with a lot of incredible people out here too. But I do miss Spotted Dog so much. I will say that looking at the podcast and seeing Jen and Dina on there, and I was just like, oh, I need to come back.
Yeah, we certainly miss you too. And I think this goes without saying, but if you ever need anything or resources or whatnot, let me know. I know I'm going to dig deeper into trying to find some Baptiste teachers up in that area, but you may be it, you're like the spark. You could just light the fire.
There might be a niche up here. So I'm open to it. We talked about that. We're like, how about we just open our own studio here?
Start small, that's what I will say. Start small. We didn't start small, but I wish we would have, maybe,
But tell me that though, Nick, what was that? Because we've always thought about entrepreneurship, and that's kind of been the thing that's fascinated us. And I'll say this just is what I think is one of the most inspiring things about your podcast and what you guys do is you really promote living an untraditional, I guess, unconventional lifestyle, which I think is great for so many people. I think the conventional is great for a lot of people, but there's a lot of people that don't fit in that box and are looking for other ways to live. And so hearing people, quitting their job and doing stand-up paddleboarding and getting into whitewater paddleboarding was just so inspiring to see people do that and live their life that way. So I'm curious, I don't know your story as well, but what inspired you guys to start a yoga studio?
Well, thanks for the question. I grew up playing a lot of soccer and was just really devoted to to the game. And I played all the way through college soccer. And then after college, I tried to play some professional, and then I ended up injuring myself and fell out of the game. And kind of at that point, I'd spent 25 years devoted to this practice, and it was gone. And I was kind of lost. I was like, I don't know what to do. What do I do? I have a degree in marketing. I'd got some odd jobs here and there, but it just didn't feel right for me. And in a way, yoga kind of found me. It found me in a way to help me heal and, improve myself. And then I started to realize what Cassie was saying, that it was something that was for my whole body and my mind and my spirit. And at that point in time when I found yoga, I was selling a product called Manavi. Do you know what Manavi is? Mm-hmm. It's this juice that it turned out to be this network marketing scheme. Of course, hundreds of people told me that, I'm like, no, it's not, but it was, so I was selling snake oil, basically scaring my friends away. And, but I got into yoga and I'm like, this is like the real deal. I love it. Like I can get behind this. Like I can share this because it really is making a big difference for me, you know? And so really I just harnessed that power of purpose and that feeling that I had and that passion that I had for it. And, I dug my heels in and I did a training after like just doing like a week of yoga. And, it was just like, it was a really kind of a sloppy experience of learning the practice and whatnot, but I just kept throwing myself in there and I love the physical rigor of it. And I love the personal, like, challenge that it gave me and, you know, inner competition that I had and that kind of thing, you know, right, River? And,
he's dreaming. You put him
and
there.
and so that, you know, that passion just like kind of spilled into my teaching. You know, I started teaching people what I was passionate about, and the next thing you know, I was teaching all over the place in Sacramento. And then I, you know, I started teaching at Zuda Yoga, which was the first hot yoga studio in Sacramento. And then they had 3 studios, and the next thing you know, I was teaching at all 3 of them and getting the most clientele. And then I was driving all over the place sharing what I was doing, and that's when I met Katie. And we went to Baptiste yoga trainings, and I just was like, wow, I like this yoga better. Like this yoga makes more sense to me. And Katie and I decided that we wanted to bring that to Sacramento area. So we were the first Baptiste yoga affiliate studio in the state of California. And that was really what we decided we wanted to do, is to bring what we had learned from Baptiste yoga to California and be unique in that way. You know, and like I said, and so really, I mean, for anyone listening and for you guys, you know, I'd say like find what you're passionate about and go for it. And, you know, I mean, there's probably a lot of different perspectives on that, you know, but like as like a yoga studio owner is a challenge. Certainly there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of different fitness programs out there, and, you know, we lose members and gain members really fast. But I mean, ultimately over our 11 years of being in business, what it's allowed us to do is to live in a way where we can be around our family, or we can be with these boys as they're being raised, you know, which I think is incredibly important at this stage in the game for them. And also, it's given us the opportunity to go out and do the things that we love because we have the freedom. We're not tied down by a 9-to-5 job or, you know, something like that. And so it's really been a blessing in disguise, no matter how challenging it can be at times, no matter how many things the world has thrown at us that have made it difficult. We always come back to like, why do we do this? You know, and we do this because of like Cassie, what you were sharing, or, you know, the people that come to our studio whose lives have been changed because of what it is that we're doing. You know, those little things for me are way more important than anything monetary. And that's what keeps us going, in the hopes that we can bring this to more people and make a bigger difference, you know? So, hey man, long-winded answer, but I know you like those though.
Yeah. I feel like we're all on the same page with those.
Well, that's beautiful, man. That really is like so much about, you think about with both our jobs, right? It's not always glitz and glamour. It's not always like these great, amazing, inspiring stories. Sometimes it's a job, and sometimes it's a grind. And other times there's a lot of rejection and a lot of like heartbreaking stories. And, you know, it doesn't matter what you do in life, there's always going to be ups and downs. And so it's just like so inspiring to kind of look back and think about, as you were talking, it just made me think about like, yeah, the reason that I keep going in what I'm doing, and the reason I keep going back to is, you know, stories of survivors of human trafficking. And I go back to that why of like, okay, this is something that's bigger than me. And being able to invest in something I'm passionate about is just, and to like what you were saying, like something that you realized was bigger than just selling a multi-level marketing scheme product, right? Like something that was really benefiting people and could really heal and help in their lives. Like, it's just, you know, I think it's something that oftentimes when you're looking about what to do or figuring out a career, the only thing we think is a monetary, like, okay, how much can I make? Right? Mm-hmm. What's the financial, which is obviously an important piece. We all need money. It's an aspect of it. But I agree. I think so many times if all we're hearing is that one, we miss the other possible perspectives. And one of those is like, okay, you can make money and do things that you're passionate about and that you love. And it doesn't have to be one or the other. And there's ways to create a lifestyle that is great for you. I always encourage people to go into nonprofit work at even at younger in their career, because a lot of times you see people who are 60, 70, and they're after their career, really, start to help and give back and do that. But the industries just need people who are young and talented and creative and innovative to really move these forward. Like that's how we're going to solve some of these problems that we're facing in the world today, is through some of these nonprofit work. But if all the talent is being attracted to just the most highest paying job, we're going to miss out on a lot of that opportunity. And there's so many other benefits and rewards that type of work, and living a life that's focused on your passion and something you can really get your whole heart into. There's such a difference that can make in your life. There's so many other benefits and value that brings to you and who you are, and all the things that go along with that. So I appreciate you sharing that piece and giving us a platform here to share a little bit about that, because it is something we're both passionate about, and has always been on the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, no, man, I appreciate you and your perspective there too. I believe, like, it seems to me like ultimately people over time start going back to a place where they're of service. Of all the work that I've ever done, the times I've been of service and doing things with like no expected result, but to just be there and to share what I know, like in the hopes that it makes a difference for people. Those have been the things that I always love the most, and as people get older, and when they achieve financial freedom or whatever it is, like, or they don't, but they like, it seems to me like people like move towards a place of service because it really fills up our cup. It's something, we're up to something bigger than just ourselves. And I say, do it now, right? Like do it now, because we're not guaranteed another day. Life is short. It's unexpected. We just don't know. Like, we may not be here tomorrow, and so what we do today really, truly matters. And then the other thing I'll say too, that maybe holds value for you all and for people that are considering getting into like entrepreneurship or creating something for yourself, is that someone told me this once, and I feel like my experience of our yoga studio has been like this too, is like work part-time on your passion and full-time on your job, until the point when your passion takes over your ability or your need to do your job on the daily basis, So work part-time on your passion, full-time on your job. So like start something small, work on it, be in the conversation around it, provide it, and then someday you may just find that it takes over and like something huge is created from it, So, but you got to have the money to live too, right?
Yeah.
That's important.
Amen,
well,
dude.
It's funny because that's one of the things I think Cass has been doing so much of, and we had that same conversation about, okay, how do you get to that point of entrepreneurship? And a lot of times it is a side hustle or the part-time side of things to grow it. But I keep hearing from Cass all the things she's doing. You can share if you want about some of the voice work and that type of thing.
Yeah, I have always had a creative itch. Forever and always. And so I've been trying lately, even though obviously my 9-to-5 job is a passion and I'm making a difference, I've also found that some of my creative itch needs to get scratched. And so I've been, similarly to doing yoga for that whole mind-body experience, I've also delved into writing, and I've written a children's book. And then I started through Strands Global, I did the voiceover work for some of our educational videos, and I realized how much I love that. And so I've started taking voiceover lessons and putting together a demo for that, and then wanting to turn my children's book into a video, and just little side passion projects that I've been super into, and just like joining writers groups and doing things on the side that just fill that creative cup, because we might have a play cup and a love cup. I have a creative cup that I need to fill in order to feel, yeah. And so that has been, ever since starting to do that, and like you said, little things. I have my full-time job, but on the side, being able to do this outside of work hours, or little tidbits, has just been, it's reignited my passion for life. Not that it ever dampered, but it's reignited it even more so.
Yeah, it gives you something to look forward to. That's really exciting to hear. I actually had this idea, and I didn't mention it in the show, but I did read in your deal that you really like skunks. You're a skunk lover. So
I actually volunteered for a skunk rescue when I lived in Florida.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
I mean, I read that. That's so cool. And I was like looking for like a skunk rescue. That's amazing. Well, maybe a movie with a voiceover or a book about a skunk.
I love it.
Yes. I mean, who knows? Who knows? I got ideas for days, you guys.
Got canceled, so I might as well reinvent something new.
Yeah, right. So yeah, bring in the new age skunk. Damn, nobody's doing it. Josh, Cassie, I appreciate your zest for life and your zest for service, like your commitment to service. And thank you so much for being a part of this podcast today. It's really been amazing having an opportunity to speak with you and get to know you more. And I'm looking forward to having more opportunities in the future. Play Hard and Love Big Radio is the official podcast of Spotted Dog Yoga and SUP. And we're based out of Folsom, California. So y'all come check us out at spotteddogyoga.com, where we play hard and we love big. On Play Hard and Love Big Radio, we're dedicated to bringing you the inspirational people and their stories to help you connect to your center so that you can go out and live your most purposeful and passionate life. And today, Josh and Cassie, you have been those two people and your stories have been phenomenal. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. We appreciate it so much. Thanks everybody for listening.